Hello, this is Rick Powers coming to you from my home office for introductory statistics. And this video is about using the software SALT in order to make a box plot. So I'm going to share my screen with you and we'll go over that. Okay, so with SALT, if you have a link on your homework, you can just click on it. It'll bring the data in, hopefully, so that you can use the numbers that are in your homework. Otherwise, if you have a data set, you can put into a spreadsheet, download it as CSV, and then upload it into SALT. We're just going to use one of the data sets about abalone, and I didn't know anything about abalone until I started looking at this data set. Turns out it's a kind of shellfish or a mollusk. That doesn't matter to us. We're just looking at the numbers. So we're looking here at the length of these abalone. Now, we want to understand something about them, and we want to use the box plot. But it doesn't work quite the way that we might want it to work, okay? So to understand this, first we're going to take a look at the dot plot, okay? So if I look at the dot plot for this, I can hopefully clearly see that most of the data is on the right side of the graph. So that means that the data is more spread out on the left, which means that it has left skewness. When data is spread out in a specific direction, we say it's skewed in that direction. And then if we ask the question, where are the outliers for this data set? These would be data values which are separated from the main data set. And we see there are two listed here on the left-hand side, or on the low end, and there are two up here on the high end. And we would say those are outliers because they are separated from the main data set. However, when we look at this, it's set up horizontally. The low end here, 0.075, goes up to the high end, 0.815. But when we make a box plot of length, it's no longer set up with the numbers on a horizontal scale, but on a vertical scale. And you see the length is listed as a vertical scale. So you kind of have to turn your mind around to kind of see how this works. Then we have the box plot, which is listed here, but we have these blue dots, which are down here. And so this is indicating that there's a problem because the box plot used here in SALT and in other textbooks is supposed to indicate outliers by using a specific formula. So these blue dots down here are supposed to be outliers, but they're not, okay? Only the bottom two are actually separated from the main data set in any significant way. And so if we use the box plot to try to find outliers, it doesn't work, okay? So if we want to know where the outliers are, we should be using the dot plot. Now, if we're looking for skewness, okay, skewness is where the data is spread out. And specifically, we often look to these, what we call the whiskers, the line at the top and the line at the bottom. And we ask which one is larger. If it's larger at the top here, that means the higher numbers would be spread out more. If this whisker down here is longer, then that means this section of the data is spread out more. The longer the whisker, the more spread out the data is. But here, since we have all these dots, we have to kind of think of this lower number, this 0205. We should really pull that whisker so that it's down farther. So then clearly the whisker below the box is longer than the whisker above the box. So this is an indication of having a left skewed or negative skewed because of the spread out numbers here on the bottom end. Again, we say it's left skewed because we usually think of this as being a left to right, not a bottom to top kind of a thing. So we are able to use SALT to make a box plot, but in order to interpret it correctly, we have to take these dots out of our mind consideration, and we need to make this lower part of the graph to actually extend down to that minimum value. Then we can compare the two whiskers in order to see where the data is spread out. And we should not use this situation nor the formula in the textbook to try to figure out the outliers. The outliers are found by finding gaps in the data set. That's what determines an outlier, not this box plot and no specific formula that's used. All right, I hope that's good information for you. And please, if you have any questions, let me know.